Hi, this is Mike Brown, owner of Death Wish Coffee Company. Welcome to Fueled by Deathcast.
I love Jeff, but sweet and high. Whoop, Mr. Motorama Coffee Spot.
Death Wish Coffee presents Fueled by Deathcast, the world's strongest podcast. With your hosts, the incredible Jeff and the amazing D-Man.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fueled by Deathcast, episode 17, actually, and I am the incredible Jeff.
And I am the amazing D-Man.
And as always, we want to thank our wonderful friend, Brock Powell, brockvox.com, to go over and see all the awesome stuff that voice actor is doing, including all the stuff he does for us. Also, and we've been saying this every week, it's coming up right around the corner, New York City Podfest.
It's coming. I can't wait, man.
I can't wait. We've got special guest comedian Kevin Bartini that we're bringing down there April 9th. But so many good shows all weekend, April 7th through the 9th. If you go on over to nycpodfest.com, you can see all the cool shows and get your tickets right now. And we have a really cool guest this week. The man, the myth, the legend, Michael Brown.
Yeah, that's true. We got the boss man on the microphone.
You heard him intro us just there, and we'll be talking to him later in the episode. We've been really excited to have him on the podcast. It was really cool. He took the time to talk to us. But we do have some really cool guests coming up too, and I want to kind of break the news right now. Next week, we are welcoming Nicole Stott to this podcast, and she is a bona fide astronaut, and I am so excited to talk to her.
I mean, we love talking about science in general, and have somebody who actually is science, who has been in space. That is so scary.
Yeah, she was actually part of the final mission of the space shuttle, and she has spent 2 different times up at the International Space Station, but we'll be talking to her next week, and we're very excited.
Secret code unlocked. Discount of death.
So this week, if you type in fuel, you will get 15% off of everything on deathwishcoffee.com.
Yeah, and that is because we have our fearless leader on this podcast this week. So we figured, what better way to say thank you to all of our wonderful listenership out there that you get to save on everything.
And this is the best discount we've given away yet. So make sure you get it while it's hot. This week only, type in FUEL, and you will get 15% off of everything.
There it is.
Science!
Okay, so this week I got something a little different. We're actually staying on Earth for once.
Oh boy!
Yeah, and I thought this was pretty neat. I saw this come across a couple science journals. I love it when we find out things about our planet that is new or something that we thought was gone that isn't. And the world's rarest and most ancient dog has literally just been rediscovered in the wild.
What? That's crazy. What's that mean, the most ancient dog?
Well, we know that this dog, which is a New Guinea Highland wild dog.
Cool.
Okay. We had seen them for the last time about a half a century ago. About 50 years ago was the last time we had ever photographed these in the wild. And then we just figured maybe they had died out. And but being as old as they were, we have found them in the fossil record up to about 6,000 years ago, and which makes them one of the oldest canine type animals out there. Now, dogs and wolves, evolve just like the rest of species. But
from what I understand, all dogs come from wolves.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, that whole species, evolved just like, the fish jumped out of the water and evolved into, whatever, evolution. But what's interesting is that this is one of the oldest known species of dog that is as close to its relatives today.
Whoa.
Yeah. And what's really cool about this.
What's this thing look like?
It looks like kind of like like an Akita. Is that what they are? The little with the curly Q tails and stuff like that. Yeah, they're not super big. They're a little bit smaller than wolves. Actually, if you're familiar with a dingo, they're closely related to the dingoes of Australia.
A real important question is though, how do I get one?
Yeah, right.
That's so cool. I'd love to have the world's most ancient dog as a pet.
Well,
is that bad?
Yeah, a little bit. In September of last year, researchers were in New Guinea and they found a muddy paw print, which gave them hope that maybe the dog was still around. So they set up a bunch of trap cameras, you know, and baited them.
Yeah.
And they've captured over 150 photos now of actual families of males, women, and actual pups. And so they are thriving out there.
Why'd they think it went extinct?
We just haven't seen it. And the reason why is because they live in the forest of the New Guinea highlands, some 3,400 to 4,400 meters above sea level in the jungles of New Guinea.
So it's like finding Bigfoot.
Right. It's like completely, tucked away from
society. Except for it actually exists.
And it's pretty cool. You can just type in New Guinea Highland wild dogs, and you can see pictures of them that they found. But they seem to be really, they're thriving. They just, they moved their area way away from humans.
Yeah.
And they're just, living the life of wild dogs. And it's really, like, again, it's neat because we unfortunately live in a time where lots of animals become extinct.
Mm-hmm.
You constantly are hearing more animals are on the endangered species list. More animals are becoming extinct every day.
Yeah.
And it's very reassuring to find that, some of them that we thought were extinct really aren't.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, there's so many areas that we think we've discovered everything as far as like planet Earth.
Yeah.
But there's so many areas, including like the Pacific Northwest, where we just don't have a clue where anything is.
Exactly. And now that we know where these dogs are kind of existing in these highlands, the scientists are actually starting to reevaluate what they knew about the dog. Like I had told you, we believe that they started to come over to the continent around 6,000 years ago, and it was believed that they came over with humans, with
weird.
Humanoids, because...
so they're not necessarily native to that area.
That's what we thought, but now that we know that they're in this area, we're starting to look at new fossil records, and they might have migrated even before early humans actually did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Nice.
What fuels you?
So this week we got to talk to Mike Brown, the owner, CEO, and all-around amazing starter of Death Wish Coffee. And he had some really cool stuff to say, which you'll hear later on. And one of the things he kind of touched on, and I think is such good advice, is that it's never too late to reinvent yourself in life, ever.
Yeah, there's so many great examples of, like, you even think about Colonel Sanders, who was like, God, what was he, 50 or 60 something, going door to door trying to sell fried chicken,
right?
And he just became a smashing success later in life. And man, you can never give up. You never know what life is going to throw at you and where you can find success.
I always think of Lego too.
Yeah.
The creator of Lego started...
Is his name Lego?
No. Yeah, Mr. Lego. But they started out as a wooden toy company, and the plant burned down, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and finally, like, anyone else would just give up and be like, well, I guess I'm not supposed to be a toy maker.
I can tell you, do you have to sneeze? You can sneeze, Jeff.
but then Lego kind of just reinvented themselves and became the powerhouse that they are today.
That's crazy.
With snappable blocks, and and that's the truth. Is like, you could be stuck in a dead end job, or you could always have that dream in the back of your mind, and it's never too late to go chase that goal, to go chase that dream.
And here's the truth about it, is that if you decide to be a passionate person, especially later in life, and follow your goals, man, that is an inspiration to people around you, and that will create passion around you, and this great passion bubble that creates success everywhere you go.
Yes.
So it's like, don't be shy.
Totally.
Find out what you love and do that, and everyone around you will respect that and follow suit. And it's a pretty amazing thing to see.
Passion fuels passion.
Yes.
100%. You know, I mean, it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to see someone be inspired.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we do this podcast.
Right.
Is because the whole idea is that, you know, there's so much negative content out there between the news and newspapers and media in general, social media and all the trolls and all this negative spots on the world. And Jeff and I wanted to create something positive, and we decided that passion and inspiration should be the backbone of this podcast, because it comes in the hope that talking to all these passionate and inspirational people will cause passion and inspiration for other people.
Yes. So it's time for another community shout out.
My favorite time of the week.
And like we say every week, we see you guys out there supporting the podcast, telling everybody about it, sharing the memes. We love you all for it.
And supporting the company, loving the coffee, loving the mugs. Man, we love you.
Yeah. And this week, the community shout out goes to Tom Bolda.
Yeah, man, we love you. We love your support. I love hearing from you, man.
Yeah, you know, you're constantly posting about this podcast and the company, and always have a good attitude, and you're always helping people out, you know, and it's fun to watch you on social media, and especially when you talk about our little podcast, which is a lot of fun. So community shout out goes to you, Tom.
Yeah, mugs up to Tom Bolda.
This week, you just got back, D-Man, from a pretty incredible event out in Albuquerque.
Yeah, we went to the Albuquerque Coffee and Chocolate Festival. By the way, say that 3 times a day. Don't.
I won't.
No, okay. So it's pretty much this grand convention where, I mean, it's self-explanatory.
It's coffee makers and chocolate makers.
Yeah, and, you know, a little bit of basket makers, and, you know, the mix in some native Albuquerque cuisine.
No, wow.
Which was fun.
How many people, how many days was it?
It was just 2 days.
2 days. How many people do you think attended this event?
20 to 30,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a comic book convention.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of like Baltimore Comic-Con.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was great. And it was our second year there. It was my first year there, which was, I really wanted to go. I really wanted to see Albuquerque.
You love the desert.
Yeah, I love the desert.
Yeah.
And I love Albuquerque now that I've been there. And everybody was so awesome and nice there. The people were great, and we just sold out of everything.
That's exciting.
You know, last year we brought a lot of stuff and we had to send some back, but this year we brought more stuff and we didn't bring enough.
Wow.
The people were so supportive and just wanted their Death Wish coffee, and we were reeling and dealing, man. It was so much fun. But the one thing that I realized while I was out there, or just kind of became more evident, that Death Wish is different, man.
Yeah.
You know, you see all these coffee companies and browns and yellows and talking about farms and all these nice things, and here's Death Wish all dressed in black, you know, rocking and rolling, and it was really cool. I mean,
we are not shy. We are we roll up like rock stars wherever we go.
And it's not just the brand idea. I mean, it's all the people working there are. I love the people that I work with. We're really loud and edgy and fun. And
that's awesome.
We just bring that wherever we go, and we brought it to the Albuquerque Coffee and Chocolate Festival, and man, it was so much fun.
That's excellent. So hopefully we'll even go back next year.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Awesome.
The Death Wish Death List.
All right. This week we lost Alessandro Alessandroni.
Say that 3 times.
He was 92 years old. He was an Italian musician and composer. He was widely known for using orchestration with very unusual combinations of instruments, and he collaborated many times with his childhood friend Ennio Morricone on most spaghetti western movies back in the day. In fact, he wrote and played the twangy guitar theme music that you hear at the beginning of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Actually, at the end, too, when everything gets good and bad and ugly.
Yeah.
He also can be heard whistling on the theme for the movie A Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind.
Yep.
That's so funny.
He composed many, many soundtracks during that spaghetti western time, including Any Gun Can Play, even for other movies like Lady Frankenstein, and the list goes on.
Do you think he was
on.
the first person to whistle for the theme of a Western.
I don't know if he was the first, but he definitely was one of the first.
Yeah, because it became like a thing. Like
Yeah.
you think Western, watching a spaghetti Western and the.
Yeah, totally.
I wonder if he was the first one to like let's add some whistling here. That'll be cool.
I bet you a lot of his whistling is just reused a lot today, though. Too.
Probably. Well, sir, your whistle will live on forever.
Exactly. We'd like to death wish you a happy birthday to a couple people, though. On Friday, March 31st, Christopher Walken is going to be 74 years old.
Man, he's still working hard, too.
He works so hard. He's in a ton of movies every year, a ton of different appearances. On Monday, April 3rd, the incredibly beautiful Kobe Smulders, you might remember her from How I Met Your Mother or as Agent Maria Hill from the Avengers movies. She's going to be 35. Also on Monday, April 3rd, Alec Baldwin is going to be 59. He's been seeing a resurgence with his new SNL appearances as our president and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, a small shout out to my wife, Trisha, who is also going to have a birthday on Monday, April 3rd. And on Tuesday, April 4th, a guy who defies death on a daily basis, David Blaine, is going to be 44 years old.
That's wild.
If there's someone that I would love to ask the question, what fuels you? It would be David Blaine.
I want to see him defy age.
Yeah, right?
And all of a sudden he's like 80 and he still looks the same.
He's touring right now trying to perfect the catch a bullet in your mouth trick.
Oh,
and he
that's
almost killed himself doing it. So it's pretty crazy. But he does some pretty incredible stuff. I love his specials.
Yeah, I
They're
wonder
really
what
cool.
does fuel that man.
Again, maybe we can get him on this podcast sometime and ask him that question.
Hey, listeners, if you know David Blaine, tell him about this podcast. Let's get him on here.
Let's try to make that happen.
D-Man's Death Wish Update. Brought to you by Death Wish Coffee.
All right. I'm always excited when this point hits. What do we got in store this week, D-Man?
So this week in particular, we're having an awesome sale on the survival kits.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're coming into the warmer seasons, and we're able to camp and start campfires and make coffee wherever we want. So we wanted to make sure everybody got their survival kit by the time the season rolled around.
And I love this piece of merchandise. I mean, you get your 2 little mugs in there. You get a nice little thing of coffee, the little filter sock.
Yeah, the little filter sock. I love that little filter sock.
It's just an awesome, and the carry case, the little lunchbox. That's just the coolest.
And you also don't forget to mention there's matches in there, so we can't air ship any of this. So it does take a little bit of time to get to you because it has to be ground shipped. But
this week is the week to order because we got that big sale going on,
and it's a huge sale. So
awesome.
keep a lookout for that. It's coming.
Awesome.
Also coming is April, and we have a lot of cool releases in April.
Can't wait.
So I'm gonna name a couple off, and I'm gonna give you close.
Everybody,
to the real
get your
date.
calendars out.
Next week, we will be releasing the newly designed vacuum sealed coffee canister.
Excellent. We talked about those on a previous episode, and I've said it before. I just love having that on my kitchen counter. Just being able to keep my beans in there, they keep fresh forever. And these new designs are a little sleeker, a little nicer. They're a perfect collection. Addendum there.
And that's made by a cool little company called Planetary Design.
Yeah.
They have some really highly engineered devices. And I came across an article that was like the 5 best coffee canisters ever. And the Planetary Design vacuum seal canister, I think it's called the Airscape.
Yep.
That was number 1.
That's awesome.
And we've messed with a lot of other coffee canisters, but nothing seals and works as easy as this one does.
Yeah.
So
they're really cool.
Also coming.
Oh boy.
And if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen me post a picture of the new era hats.
I'm wearing one right now. They're so awesome. I've been waiting for these for a while because I love wearing the Death Wish hats, and I have some of the older ones, but man, partnering with New Era, that's just exciting.
See, that's the thing. We have come out with a few hats before, but we've just kind of worked with just random hat companies.
Right, yeah.
Like, here's a hat. Here's a Death Wish hat.
And they're nice.
And we thought, we really want to release a high quality hat. So who makes the most high quality hats?
New Era.
New Era does. So we worked with them to come out with two different designs for our Death Wish hats.
Yeah, we got the original Death Wish logo on a beautiful black hat, and then you've probably seen it, the industrial logo on kind of like a gunmetal gray hat.
Yeah, it looks so cool. So
it's hard to choose.
Yeah.
So just get both, everybody.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me, when are we going to release it? And I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
It's going to be in the second week of April.
There it is. Mark it on your calendars because, they're going to be... Now, this isn't a mug. They're not numbered or nothing, but, we do have limited quantities, so you're going to want to get them.
Yeah, so there it is.
Awesome.
There's all the information I'm going to give you this week, and, like I said, April will come a lot of releases, and
Excellent.
We're very excited, and you get to hear it all first on the D-Man Death Wish update.
Yeah, so tune in next week for some more juicy news.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the show.
Okay, this week we got to talk to Michael Brown.
Yeah, we were really excited to do this one. We pushed this a little bit forward, and we're releasing it now.
Yeah, we love doing the employee series, and we know you listeners out there really like hearing the ins and outs of Death Wish Coffee Company from the people who are on the front lines, and there's nobody on the front lines that's more front-liney than Mike Brown. I mean, he came up with the idea. He started the company. And you're going to hear a really cool conversation about that.
Yeah, I always say this. I love doing the podcast because you get to ask questions to people that you've known forever, but you get to ask the questions that really matter without seeming like a bit strange. But it was really cool hearing Mike's backstory, how he came to the idea of Death Wish, the things that he dealt with leading up to it, and the things he will be dealing with in the future and how he plans to tackle them. I was blown away.
Yeah, so here is our interview with our boss, Michael Brown.
Enjoy.
The Fueled by Death guest.
Biggest boss and I've been a trillist. I'm a bigger problem when I click with Skrillex. Murder on my mind, it's time to pray to God. My revolver's not religious, the revolution's born. You wanna know my name?
This is Mike Brown.
Start kind of at the beginning, but there's a lot of information about the beginning of this company. Anyways, one thing that I think I've never really heard touched upon is it's known that, Mike, you started out kind of in accounting, and then you went into working in a coffee shop. Can you talk a little bit about the transition of that? Like, was that like an overnight thing? You just were like, I don't want to be an accountant anymore, and now I'm working in coffee, or was that a hard, like, because sometimes when you switch job tracks, it gets a little hard, like, to wrap your mind around it.
Yeah. So when I was 24, I came out of college. I did like the 5-year plan, 5 or 6-year plan. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. But I went to school for business and economics, and I got home and I was looking for a job.
Yeah.
I didn't have one, and every single position that actually paid well, you needed accounting credits. So I went back online and I, how am I to get more accounting credits? I'll have to go back to school for a little bit. And I found a accounting program where I could get 24 accounting credits in, I think, less than 6 months.
Awesome.
And it was in Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like, I'll just go on like a big vacation in Hawaii and
Right.
get 24 accounting credits while I'm out there. This should be a breeze. So I actually did. I went out and did that. I spent 6 months in Hawaii at the University of Hawaii.
Was it as nice as you thought it was going to be?
Oh my God, yes. It was incredible.
Excellent.
But the program was very intensive. And the way it was structured was kind of unique. I would do 3 credits or 1 class every 2 or 3 weeks. But we just focus on 1 class.
Okay.
And it would be all day long for 3 weeks. So that was kind of like a cool thing. And then between each class, we'd have a week to, I guess, let our minds refresh and not just go down to the beach and,
Right.
Yeah.
and hang out there. I was in Waikiki, which is cool. Didn't have any friends out there. So I was kind of like, it was really kind of like, it took me out of my comfort zone, like put me in my place where, I don't know, I wasn't used to. I always had tons of friends at home. And when I was out there, I was like, okay, time to make new friends again. How the hell do I do this?
Right.
So it was pretty cool, like learning experience. But fast forward, got done with that, came back to New York, got a job right away. Actually, it was my first interview. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I don't know, where I want to work in terms of accounting. I wanted to go into. My thought was, I'll get my CPA. I'll work for like one of the big accounting firms. But I'm like, I should get some interviews under my belt first before I try this.
So you kind of saw a void of like, okay, obviously it looks like a lot of places need accountants, so I can.
Right.
It wasn't like I want to be an accountant for the rest
Absolutely
of my life.
not. Absolutely not. I was looking for a paycheck at the time. And that's probably wasn't the best decision. It wasn't. But anyways, first interview, I went in. I didn't think I did that great, but I must have nailed it because the next day they called me up. It was a state job. They're like, oh yeah, you got it. Come on in. You have your own accounting team working under you, and I'm like, oh shit, my own accounting team. Wow. This is great. So I go to work the next day, and I meet my team. It was a small team, apparently of all the troublemakers that nobody wanted to work with, and they put them all on my team. So I'm just like really green, don't know how to manage a team. I learned a lot actually, just about running a team and being, I don't know, I guess a little bit about accounting too, but the accounting work I was doing was kind of basic. It was just, I was balancing bank accounts, $1 billion bank accounts, which was kind of cool because I'm like, oh, look at all this money I got at my fingertips, but not really. And I was giving out refund checks to people. Like actually, that was one of my main purposes there, was to facilitate their refund program. Yeah. So if you, for instance, had a business and you dissolved your business and the state owed you money, my job would be to reach out to you and be like, hey, we owe you money.
Right.
So half the year, basically I just sent checks to people. And I don't know, it's kind of a neat experience, but I automated it really quick because that's the way my mind works. I'm like, yeah, let's automate this. Like we're doing it really like, we were doing it like old fashioned way. Like,
write a check, hand it,
deliver it. It was idiotic. We'd send out this massive outreach, right? And we'd have to manually receive every piece of mail.
Oh, geez.
Look in it. And I'm like, why are we doing this? So we actually barcoded the whole like system and ran it through the mailroom, and I pretty much worked myself out of a job. So after that, I had like really nothing to do. Half my year was gone. So I just sat at my desk and I read about business, starting my own business, and just different ways other people were making money. And that's actually where I got kind of like the courage to be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on my own, start something myself, because I was so bored at my current job.
It must be unfulfilling kind of feeling like you're not making a difference at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And my bosses recognize it. They actually brought me in the office. They're like, Mike, you get a lot of people at this time start banking there, because the way your job was the way it worked was every week you worked, you got like a half a day of vacation time. Or maybe every 2 weeks at a half a day. But anyways, people would bank up this vacation time. They'd have like months of paid time off, and I would use it as soon as I got it every time. They're like, Mike,
just get me out of here.
Yeah, I would hide during the day and go sleep in my car.
Nice.
I would just like walk. I would just be like, I'm going exploring. I just walk around the city of Albany because there's really nothing for me to do, but I had to be there for, to supervise over my team and to make sure they didn't like cause any trouble. And boy, they did. I have some stories about that.
Oh man,
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So because I had this very, I guess, senior team of troublemakers that really didn't have much.
The mod squad.
Yeah, they didn't have much motivation for advancement, but they really just liked the position they were in. They just wanted to stay in. And the way this, the state works is, it's hard to get people out once they're in.
Right.
Yeah.
And they knew this. So I'd find people sleeping under their desks. And I'd be like, you have to do something. Like, just sit at your computer and, like, act present. And I had old women crying on the floor, banging their hands on the floor and stamping their feet, like, in the middle of the hall. I'm standing there as, like, a new, why?
Yeah. Why were they doing that?
I always thought of it like, all right, I'm kind of like, they just kind of put me. I'm just a big babysitter. That's what it kind of
Sounds like you're babysitting.
you have to babysit the babies.
The old babies.
The old babies. You have to babysit the old babies.
gosh.
And I did that for a while, and it was interesting.
So did you must have gotten to a point where you're like, I don't know, for me, I remember I was like supposed to head to work, but I was sitting on the couch, like looking at my hands, just being like, I don't want to do this anymore. Did you get to that point, or were you just kind of...
I was tiptoeing around that point for a while. And then that same conversation where my bosses had me get in the conference room being like, you're missing a lot of days. I was like, I'm putting in my 2 weeks right now. Like something just snapped inside of me. And I'm like, oh, should I have just said that? They're like, no, that's not what we're saying. And I'm always like, yep, that's what I'm saying.
That's what
I'm
I'm saying.
I'm
Nope,
done.
we're
2
going
weeks,
through
I'm done.
this. Nice.
And everyone's like, oh, really? Like I don't know. Because I was doing a lot at that time. Like because I had a lot of time, I was like volunteering to be like, I was trying to be like the voice of my department, my whole unit. I was doing a lot of the speaking engagements, a lot of, telling the rest of the, I worked for the controller's office, the rest of the controller's office, like what we're doing. And, I was like putting myself out there, and I was trying to be involved, trying to be a good worker.
Trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm actually glad it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Looking back. But I didn't have a game plan going out of it. I just was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
I
That's
don't know
what I
what
feel
I'm
like.
gonna do.
Yeah.
Like you might not have the greatest idea at the time, but it's like you got to get going. You got to start somewhere. You got to get out of there. So you have that moment. You give the 2 weeks. What made you start a coffee business?
So for the next year, I didn't do anything. I really did nothing. It was my friends would be like, Mike, actually took like after 6 months of doing nothing, they'd come home from work and I'd be playing Guitar Hero and
Nice.
just like reading or I mean, what did you do all day? And I'd be like, actually nothing. I literally laid on the couch and played some Guitar Hero, and they're like, you have to do something, man. You can't just be like a loser. And I'm like, you're right. I can't just be a loser.
Some good friends, though.
Yeah. So, but during that time where I wasn't doing anything, I was hanging out in coffee shops a lot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking in the back of my, actually, I had a girlfriend in North Carolina at the time, and I was driving back from visiting her. What an idiotic place to have a girlfriend. Like,
Oh, yeah, long distance. Woof. Yeah.
but great girl. She was. Driving back, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try to start a coffee shop. I got to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got home and actually started taking action on my thoughts. And I was able to find some viable places that were already going. So, I didn't have to like learn it all or start it all myself, because I didn't know anything about coffee or running a business. The first one that I tried to purchase didn't work out at all.
Was that also in Saratoga?
No, it was in like Del Mar or something. But I'm glad that one didn't
Yeah.
work out. It's funny, like the ones that don't work out,
Yeah.
looking back, you're just like, oh, that didn't work out. Thank God it didn't.
Yeah.
The one in Saratoga ended up working out, and it was quite the experience.
Yeah.
I came in really green again. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know anything about coffee. Didn't know anything about running a business. But the previous owner, his name is Mike as well. He took me under his wing for about 30 days, showed me everything I needed to know, and kind of just set me off. And it's funny, when I first started the business, I'm like, oh, this is going great. People are coming in, buying things. There's money coming in. And then, but it took a few months for me to realize, wait a minute, there's money coming in. There's a lot more money going out. So yeah, for a few years, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about running a business, and how much you have to keep an eye on things, and how much you have to watch the money going out, just as closely as you watch the money coming in. And I could talk forever about every single lesson I learned.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was painful. It was painful at first. Lost a lot of money. I was pretty much going broke. Had to sell my house. I've said this a million times. Moved back in with my mom.
Yep.
She was great. So she loves me. So she would love to have me back at home.
Oh, yeah.
But it was tough for me personally, and just my ego.
Yeah.
So I'm very egotistical, I think, in some sense. I think
It's rough. I did the same thing in my life. After college, struck out on my own for a little bit and then had to move back in with my parents. And it's rough for anybody because when you
It
move
sucks
out,
to swallow your pride, man.
regardless of that, when you move out, that's the first time in anyone's life when you move away from the nest is you are now your own man. You're an adult at that point. And then when you have to backtrack into that moment, it's a mental block. It really is.
And all my friends and family are like, oh, how's the business going?
Yeah.
And what are you going to say?
Right.
Like, I'm just like, it's going great, man.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for asking.
Best business ever.
Yeah.
So that's where we've heard the story. We know Death Wish came into play to kind of take care of the lack of funds. And then it obviously like, oh, this is something, it kind of took off. But I feel like from what it sounds like in your story, and Jeff and I have talked about this a lot of times, where you see yourself gaining all these weird skill sets that you're not really sure why you're even learning them, but all of a sudden when you get to a certain point like where you are now and you look back and you're like, wow, I got leadership skills from leading my accounting team, and I got business skills by running a business that was very difficult to keep alive. And is there any surprises in there as far as like looking back? Is there skills that you learned by chance that are coming into play now?
Yeah, I feel like I know a little bit of everything in regards to running a business, which is very beneficial. I think Malcolm Gladwell said, actually I heard him speak the other day, not the other day, but a couple of months ago, and he was saying how the best business leaders, they do learn they learn little bits of everything, and that makes them very valuable to their position because they can kind of put some things together that maybe people on the outside can't about the direction, the way the business is going, and possible pitfalls. And it's it takes a lot of zigzagging for a business to be successful, and I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know about production. Like I deal with production every day. I deal with coffee roasting every day, internet marketing. Like that's where my passion is, with internet marketing, and that's where I spend a lot of my time reading. But even people management and to some aspect, like psychology. Like people they're managing a team is like being a psychologist to some extent, because different personalities respond to different things, and
you kind of have to get a read on people too to figure out their place in the business.
Yeah, a lot of social intelligence, which I think I have, but who really knows? Yeah, like getting people to work together successfully it's not easy. And sometimes,
especially when
you guys know working here, sometimes it does seem like a lot of dysfunction, I think. But at the same time, we're able to produce.
It's almost like dealing with a bunch of different artists, and I know that like being in bands, and it's tough. You're dealing with all those different personalities that might clash in strange ways, and you never know what you're going to have to deal with day after day.
But you all work together to create something beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's something greater of the sum of everybody put together.
Yeah.
You got 5 people and each person can produce this much, but if you put them all together and make them work together, you produce something even greater than that, which I think is really magical, and I always see here all the time. But I feel like one thing that surprised me working for you is that you don't micromanage. You're not staring over people's shoulders, and you kind of let them fly on their own.
Yeah, I do that.
Is that purposeful, or is that just kind of
I think
your personality?
It is purposeful. I think that's the way the business world is going. If businesses aren't there yet, they will be in the future. That's just the way that the workforce is going to be. And that's my opinion, and I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But so I am purposeful with that. But at the same time, I think if we did have a more structured workplace, I think it could work as well.
Yeah.
The one thing I've noticed about businesses in business in general is I feel like there's more than one way to succeed. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I mean, it's.
By the way, we don't condone skinning cats on the Food by Deathcast.
But it is the truth.
Yeah, it is the truth. So somebody could come in and be like, I don't like your management style. You're doing it wrong, or I love your management style. You're doing it right. And honestly, I could see both. I could see both sides of the fence. Like, I mean, I think with a good team in place, we could go either way, and I still think we'd succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like personally I work better figuring stuff out on my own. And like that's why I feel like this team is right for me. And that I feel like that works out for me. So
agreed.
Awesome.
And speaking of like figuring stuff out on your own, like what we know from working for you and with you, you love to work out a puzzle. Like if there's a problem in front of you or a puzzle, something that you don't know, like you've already talked about, like I didn't know how to run a business. So you did a bunch of research on it and you learned how to do that. And you like to do that on the fly. And the famous story is that, you were working at Saratoga Coffee Traders and your customers wanted the strongest cup of coffee that you could not provide for them. And so you started to research how to do this strongest cup of coffee. The information I've never heard that I've always actually wanted to ask you is, what was that mad scientist alchemy process like? Like what was it like figuring out how to not only combine coffee, roast coffee, come up with your own blend of coffee, but like were there some trials and errors in there that maybe you made the world's most disgusting coffee like in that process, or was it just like the first time you tried it and Deathwish was born kind of thing?
I'm sure there was some trial and error. I'm pretty sure. At the time I was working. John works with us now. John Swedish.
Yep.
I was talking with him on the phone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he was actually doing a lot of the work on his end as well.
Okay.
Putting together this blend. And yeah, the way my mind, sometimes I think I'm insane. Sometimes
that's the best minds, though. All the good people are.
And I'm telling you, like if I'm and you were saying like with problem solving, if I have a real problem, I'll sit and it'll take over my life,
mm-hmm.
and I'll just really just start working on it and thinking about it. I'll dream about it. I'll wake up in the morning. I'll start reading about it again. Even now, like with stuff, I have no big problem I'm dealing with right now, but still, like yesterday, I spent all day reading and researching, and for no reason other than that's the way I'm just crazy. I don't want people to learn or know more than me. I want to be more successful than the next person, and I just want. I feel if I take a day off from reading and learning something, someone else is going to get ahead of me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think it was.
And it drives me.
It might have been Tyson who was like, "Yeah, when I'm out running, I like to wake up super early
mm-hmm.
and work out super early and get running super early because I know while I'm out there working hard, my opponent's sleeping."
Yeah. That was Mike Tyson, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's why I work on Sundays, I think, because I'm just people are spending time with their families. Like, this is my day to plan for the week and really do a lot of reading and research and kind of get a head start in the week. Because most people are whatever in church or watching football or watching basketball yesterday.
I think, and this is a tenement of my own life, but I subscribe to the idea that hunger breeds success. And if you're constantly hungry and if you're constantly out there, you're never an expert. No matter how much you know, there's always more to know. You can always be hungry,
especially with the internet now. I swear there's 100 new pieces of information that are out there every day on one particular narrow subject.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take that day off, then the next day you got to catch up.
You got to catch up for it. Yeah, very interesting. Very, very cool.
But so not even. I kind of went aside there and went down my own path. But with the coffee, testing the coffee out, there were some awful coffees I tested out. But I tested out on my customers at the time. The customers were very frank with me, and they were like, "This is good, this is bad," until we found one that tasted great and had that extra power to power people through the day. And they're like, "Yep, Mike, this is it." And I had some very good customers up at Saratoga Coffee Traders. I still do. A lot of them are regulars still.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not up there as much. Scott runs it.
Yep.
It's John's brother. And he does a good job up there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but no, I mean, that also, another way to breed success is what you're explaining with the creation of Deathwish Coffee. It wasn't just you in a dark basement mixing coffees together by yourself and tasting them. Yes. Yeah, you had you were completely working off your buddy John, and you were also taste testing with an actual customer base. It wasn't just you and your idea, so I think that it also is what helps, any successful idea is the team, the what you surround yourself with.
You got to be not only ready to work with other people, but willing to ask for help.
Yes.
Which I don't know, it was always an issue in my early life, but I'm finding it now later on, that is the best thing you can do is ask for help, especially
mm-hmm.
if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you put your ego aside.
Yeah. And it's tough.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. Do you foresee any hurdles in the future of Deathwish Coffee? Because I feel like
absolutely
not.
No.
I love that
None
answer.
whatsoever.
I love that
Smooth
answer.
sailing. No, of course, there's a hurdle every day.
Yeah.
Every day is a battle. and the battles are that's when you learn, right?
Yeah.
When those hurdles come up, and are there going to be some? Oh yeah, like definitely. I mean, specific examples.
Yeah.
Oops.
Ping pong balls.
We're sitting at a ping pong table, by the way.
For now.
For now. Specific hurdles. Yeah. As the business grows, and it's been growing at a pretty good rate. We've been doubling in size and revenue for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Year over year. Last year we tripled, and I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but one of the books I was reading recently, one of the authors said, every time a business triples in size, you have to rewrite all your procedures and manuals because the whole business changes.
It's a different business.
It is.
Entirely
Different business.
Yeah.
So as we grow, everything we have, all the systems and procedures we have in place, they all have to be rewritten, and we have to kind of like basically start from scratch again. And with the amount of people we're bringing on and hiring, there's a lot of structure that needs to continually change and get put into place so we can continue to grow at the rate we're growing at.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's gonna be quite the challenge, and hope you guys are up for it.
Oh heck yeah!
Well, you kind of have to have like that Buddhist mentality of letting go. You can't be just because I spent all my time on this one thing doesn't mean I should keep on spending time on it. Yeah, and it's hard to just like. I mean, this took years to put together.
Right.
I'm not gonna just let it go, but it's like it's not doing you any good. You
Right.
gotta let it go. So that's awesome.
And that kind of leads into we've had a few of the employees on the podcast at this point, and one of the things that we like to talk about, especially because we've had people like Eric Donovan, who has been there since the basement days at Saratoga Coffee Traders, like stuffing envelopes and stuff. We love to talk about some of the ideas that maybe didn't work as well since the inception of this company, we were wondering if there was anything that you think back. I hate to use the word fondly, but maybe just with a little bit of a wry chuckle when you think back on like maybe some ideas that we wanted to implement with Deathwish Coffee that like at the time were like, yes, this is a great idea, and it just didn't pan out. Does anything ever come to mind for you?
You know what? I think I blocked those things out because they're mostly my ideas, and I know that about 10% of the ideas I come up with, they work out, but 90% fail miserably, or we just can't get the momentum going to drive it to success. And the thing about a small team is you start bringing on projects, and eventually you spread yourself too thin, and something that may have worked out. It just doesn't have the manpower or the focus to drive it to success. And I'm trying to think of an example of that, but I think I like
just mental block.
Some doesn't work out. On to the next thing.
Maybe that's the way to be.
I think that is. I mean, why dwell on the? And I don't like to call them failures, but why dwell on the failure?
Yeah.
You win or you learn again.
Mine has a tricky way of if you say something stupid to somebody and you think over and over, oh, why did I say that?
Right.
Why did I say that? And you're like, a week later, and you're still like, Jesus, why did I say that?
Yeah.
But I think,
I'll come up with one by the time we're done talking.
it's an unhealthy thing, and it's weird that the mind will do that. So it's really important to dispel that kind of like, just forget about it. Forget about the past. Learn from it. E.J. Snyder, we always bring this up, says you either win or you learn.
Right.
So you learn and you move on.
Right.
Because you don't want to keep on replaying that flop over and over in your head. So to me, it sounds like the way to be.
Totally. And this is something else that we ask everyone that's on this podcast with the success and the hurdles that Deathwish Coffee has gained, and the day-to-day, like you said, every day is a battle, and that's with any business, not just this one, but like, every day you come in wanting to better your business, better the brand, better all that stuff. What fuels you to do that? What as the owner of Deathwish Coffee, as the idea behind the brand, what keeps you going every day to come in and keep pushing that extra mile?
Yeah, this is a question I actually lost a lot of sleep over this in the past, because business is going great. When I started the business, my goal was to just make an extra, I think, $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then after that, my goal is, okay, well, I just want to have a successful business and to be profitable. And luckily, thanks to, the great team I have and the great customers, I was able to achieve that too. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, what's next? What's making me get out of bed in the morning? And I lost a lot of sleep over, and I talked to a lot of people I respect highly, that business leaders. I talked to on the phone, and I'm just like, I'm kind of missing this sense of purpose right now. And through a lot of like thought and meditation, I'm like, why I do this? I legitimately do this to help. The reason I come to work is one is because of the customers, and it's not just to like, give the customers great product, but it is to fuel the customers. That might sound a little like back-ended, but the whole Death Wish purpose is fueling other people's passion.
Yeah.
And if we could do that in some way, whether it's motivating them or giving them a great cup of coffee, or entertaining them, or just giving them something to look forward to later on in the week or later on in the day, like that, like thinking about that and how happy it makes others, that gets me up in the morning.
That's awesome. That's the way to be.
So yeah, motivation from motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So the best form of flattery is imitation. And I wonder sometimes how you feel about all the copycats that are springing up now.
Oh, I love it. Welcome to come on in. Because more competitors better. And
because like you said, in the beginning of this company, you went out looking for the world's strongest coffee, and there was no such thing. Now, since the success of Death Wish Coffee, there are many copycats out there boasting the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think I'm competitive, but this team, like the Death Wish team, is more competitive than I am. So when competitors enter the market, that fuels us to become better. We order all their products. As soon as we see a competitor, let's order this and see how it is. Some of it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of it's not so good. But the stuff that's good, we're getting like, okay, what's good about their product? What's bad about it? Basically we audit everyone's product, and it makes us better, and it drives us to succeed. Plus, what are they really coming to the market with? They're coming to the market with a coffee in our category. We created the category.
Correct.
Yeah. We created like the strong coffee category. So they're bringing attention they're bringing other customers. They're spending their money to market, to bring customers into our category.
Right.
And then when the people get to our category, they're going to quickly find out who the leader in that category is. And that's Death Wish Coffee. Like we're honestly, in my honest opinion, we are head and shoulders above the competition.
Totally.
Yeah, we're the amount of time and effort and money we spend into our product, like putting into our product to get the best coffee beans, to get the best equipment, the best packaging, the best customer service. Like it's not just a coffee bean. There's tons that roll into our product and what we can deliver. So yeah, more competitors, the better. Come on in.
I like that.
Spend your money advertising, bringing people into our category, because once they're in the category, like
we'll just be up at the top.
That's where we win. That's when we win.
I feel like when they come to the battleground, it's like, man, we've been training for this for so long. They don't even stand a chance.
No, and how many of you guys seen it? I've seen 10, 20, 30 companies come in. And,
definitely over 20.
Yeah, come in.
Come and go.
And exit. They enter and exit, and exit. And I don't know. It's one of those things where it's hard. It's tough to hang in. It's tough to hang in a competitive category. Coffee is very competitive.
Totally.
It's tough.
There's
to
a lot
hang in
out there too.
Yeah.
It's what they call it, the third wave of coffee, where people are really focusing on the quality of their coffee. It's not just a cup of Joe anymore. It's layers. It's like wine, and now everybody's got like the single origin, and everybody's got like fair trade and organic, and it's crazy competitive world out there now. It's really awesome. Now, is there anything? I mean, I always think about like, I'm surprised Starbucks hasn't joined the field and thrown their money behind.
It's funny. They're starting to take notice of what we're doing. I've noticed just recently we were one of the first companies to release a barrel brand coffee. It was our coffee that we age in spirit barrels. And Starbucks actually just released theirs.
Wow.
They just released it, I think, 2 weeks ago. and they're selling it for I think it's like $10 a cup.
Whoa.
Yeah, like $80 a pound.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
Well, the thing is, I can't imagine being able to commercially produce what we're doing.
Right.
It's nearly impossible because we're hand loading wine barrels or whiskey barrels or rum barrels, and it's how are you going to do that for
The
tens
masses,
and hundreds of thousands of people?
So I think they're just doing it in their like select stores.
Yeah.
And I think in Seattle. But I'm gonna give it a try.
Give it a try, yeah.
Audit it, see how they're doing.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's it's good for us. That Starbucks is doing that because it brought a lot of attention to that product. And when people enter I've already noticed 3 or 4 articles that hey, Death Wish Coffee started this a couple of years ago, and now Starbucks is moving into it, which is great. It puts us on a in the same realm as Starbucks.
Yeah.
And Starbucks gets a lot of attention, which is good because it'll drive people towards ours. And actually, John, we're working on another run right now of our barrel coffee.
Yum.
It only stays on the shelves for about a couple of days until it's sold out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very like D-Man was just saying, it's a very limited run because it's a very intense process to do it. So that's what makes it that much more special when we're able to roll out those barrel brands.
Yeah, and I think Starbucks knows we're there. They are starting to move into other markets, which I think's probably not the smartest for their brand, but at the same time, they are large enough where they can
Try it out.
They can compete on a lot of different levels. They compete in the online realm, the supermarket realm, the coffee shop realm is where they started and where they should focus most of their time and attention.
Yeah.
Which I think they do, and now they're kind of starting to move into like specialty stores. And they're doing food, and they're doing a lot.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
getting a little convoluted.
Yeah, when you start to spread yourself that thin, I'm not talking shit about Starbucks. I actually think they're a great company, but it does seem like they're starting to lose a little bit of focus. But that's it's good for us as long as we stay focused on what our strengths are and don't spread our, get too broad.
Right.
I like that you keep that in mind, that you're not like, yeah, let's wait on that for a second. I don't want to just spread it too thin because it keeps the quality of the product high.
Yeah, so we're not moving into coffee shops. We're not going to become the Death Wish coffee shop. That's not on the table anywhere in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not moving into 100 different coffees. We got Death Wish and Valhalla. We got 2. And we mess around with the barrel brand when we can.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be it. We're going to focus on the online realm. We are moving into some supermarkets right now, but it's not. Like I said, it's not a big focus for ours.
Yeah, but even like with the retail side, it's like, well, wait off on that for a little bit because I just don't want to put all the focus on retail.
It's tough. I want to continue to provide the best experience for our customer.
Yeah.
And if we spread ourselves too thin, then they won't get the best experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the future of the company, where do you see it in 5 or 10 years?
We're growing. We're growing fast. I'm really excited about some things we have coming out. We have this cold brew can I'm actually drinking right now.
Yep.
That's going to be a great product. It is a great product, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be another winner going down the line. But to be quite honest, it's going to be a lot of. Unfortunately, I tell you guys this a lot. Building a brand is boring. Building a great company is sometimes boring because we're not going to go off in 100 different directions.
Yeah.
We're kind of focused on, the meat of our business. We're going to continue to work on delivering a better product. Getting these relationships in place where we can continue to get the best coffee beans. At good prices, so we can continue to. We haven't raised our prices in 5 years.
Yeah. Right.
I don't want to raise them. So we're going to continue just kind of hit the straight and narrow and grow and spread the brand, grow the brand, and I guess just be a good company.
Yeah. Stay the course, focus on what you know, and keep going, keep plugging away at it. That's a good tenement for a business and life, 100%.
Yeah.
Finally, we always ask people where you can find them. I don't know if maybe you want to shout out your Twitter handle or something.
Yeah, Twitter handle Mike Brown DWC.
Yeah, there you go.
Mike Brown DWC.
On Twitter.
MikeBrown
on Twitter, but
DWC.
And Death Wish Coffee or Death Wish Coffee Mike on Instagram, right?
yes,
I think so. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, but we'll focus on the Twitter.
yeah.
That's why I'm really working on growing my Twitter following right now. I have a few bets. Well, one bet in particular here in the office where.
Wait, should we talk about it?
No.
Yeah. You'll all just hear about it.
Let's talk
if
about
he
it
loses.
next year.
We'll talk about it when it's over.
Yeah.
But there is something going on. But make sure to follow Mike on Twitter.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned about working at Death Wish Coffee, and especially about you, Mike, it is that you do not lose. So
I will not lose.
Yeah, you're not going to lose this. I know for a fact. Well, I just got to thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. We've been really excited to have you on the podcast and pick your brain about the company that we love so much, and all of our listeners out there also as well. And is there anything else you wanna plug, company wise or Mike Brown wise?
Here's a chance. Here's the
Here's a
stage, man. Spotlight's on you.
No, nothing for me personally.
Yeah.
But as far as the company goes, there is an amazing Death Wish Coffee team. So make sure you follow. Everyone that works for Death Wish Coffee, they're very special people. They work hard. They really do everything they can to deliver the best experience to everyone. So yeah, follow them on social media if you want. They're pretty awesome. And you can go to our About Us page at Death Wish Coffee and read about everyone. And we're actually doing features on our blog as well about each individual employee, and get to know them. They're cool people, like I said, and they're really here for you guys. So, thanks.
Yeah, like we say every week, make sure you follow all the Death Wish Coffee on social media. Subscribe to the newsletter. Go on over to deathwishcoffee.com and get all of your awesome coffee and merchandise products.
Great.
And thanks again, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.